I want to thank everyone for coming to the most obtusely named speech you'll hear the entire show. I've had more people come up to me and said, so what the hell are you going to be talking about? They said, your title makes no sense. Anyone here catch the keynote I did at Affiliate Summit East? All right, so for the 6 of you who did, you're going to have to hear again my rambling 5-minute bio into why I'm even remotely qualified to talk about this stuff. This is the first time I've ever given this talk. I came up with the concept that self-promotion would save the world a couple of years ago. I just didn't know what it was at the time, and we were all doing it. We all do self-promotion every day, whether we know it or not. We choose to do self-promotion. We do good self-promotion, which is when we post something on Facebook or Twitter and it helps people. Problem with self-promotion is that the majority of people in the world hear self-promotion and automatically think of the bad. Okay, self-promotion is a dirty word because too many people hear it and think of terrible things. So, Lindsay, up here on the screen, is a great example of bad self-promotion. This was a Twitter pic that Lindsay Lohan posted to her web account a couple of months ago, I guess. And that was her thing. She posted it, and everyone saw it, and it made all the media, and it did absolutely nothing for her in terms of growing her brand. Although if you think about it, it grew her brand exactly the way she wanted to grow her brand. That's her brand. You don't look at her and think Mensa. So, so that's Lindsay, and that's what people think about when they think about self-promotion. They think about crotch shots. You know, they think about Britney. They think about what's her name? Pookie? Snooki, the one who got punched. Okay, so I'm talking about Jersey Shore. You're all like, you all know exactly what I was talking about, and you're like, oh, never heard of it. No, you're all lying. So we're going to talk about the good side of self-promotion. The side of self-promotion that'll increase your business, that will give you better revenues, that will make you beloved, so to speak. I don't use PowerPoints, so I'm just going to talk. I am told all the time that I talk too fast, so my apologies. I probably do. Feel free to tell me to slow down. You wouldn't be the first. I was giving a speech in Dallas, and a woman actually held up a sign that said, "We're from Dallas, please speak slower." And I stopped and said, "I'm from New York, please listen faster." So I'll give you a brief sort of overview as to who I am and why you're listening to me, what makes me qualified to talk about this, and then we'll just get into it. For those who don't know, my name is Peter Shankman. I run a little internet company called Help a Reporter Out, or HARO. Anyone on HARO? Awesome. For those who don't know what it is, HARO is an email newsletter that I started on Facebook back in November of 2007 to help some reporter friends of mine. The concept being that reporters talk to me all the time, and they ask who I am, and they ask, hey, you know lots of people, do you know anyone who's doing a story on this or on that? And I would normally say, sure, call this guy or call that guy, but as my name got out there and more and more reporters started asking me, I was having a harder time finding people in really sort of weird vertical tracks. And the straw that broke the camel's back was the reporter who called me from the Wall Street Journal and said, hey, I got your name from someone at the New York Times. I'm doing a story on Nigerian farming, and he told me that you have tons of sub-Saharan soil expert friends. Yeah, that's how I organize all my friends. So 5 hours later, I found him some professor at USC through like a friend of a friend, but it killed my entire day. So I moved it onto Facebook. And I moved it onto Facebook as a Facebook app, or as a little Facebook group. And I'd email whenever something came in, I'd send the email to my friends, and if they could help them out, great. It blew past the numbers that the Facebook group allowed, which was 1,200. And I moved it to the web in March of 2008. In June of 2008, we were at about 25,000 members. And the first advertiser came on board. They came, it was American Apparel. They said, hey, you're in PR, and your little PR list, aren't most people in PR like anorexic and like wear our clothing? And I remember sitting on the couch going, yeah, that's describe me to a T. And So American Apparel advertised, and apparently they had a 7.9% conversion rate on one-line text ad. And that was just apparently obscene because they immediately bought like 10 more ads. Since then, HARO sends out 3 emails a day. They have about 40 to 50 queries from journalists in each email. We are currently a little over 120,000, something like that, members. Last year, HARO generated $1.4 million in revenue in 2009, strictly from those ads. Tomorrow, we're announcing the brand new HARO. And if you guys want, a little later after we finish this speech, I'll give you the sneak peek and I'll let you see what it's going to look like. It's going to be really cool. We're splitting all the lists into verticals, so you can get, if you only want tech queries, you only want lifestyle queries. It's a fun little business, but the thing about it is that it's really nothing more than self-promotion. I started HARO as a favor to journalists with the concept that if I can help the journalist, then when I have a client that I want to pitch to get in the paper, they'll take my calls because I help them out. And it was that self-promotion, or that self-promotion disguised as help, that led to HARO. And when you help someone, it doesn't matter if it's self-promotional. And that's really one of the key things that we're going to focus on. So, got a blessed Diet Pepsi. So, who am I? For those who don't know, I was in grad school in 1994 in Santa Barbara, California, studying fashion and portrait photography because it was a great way to meet women. And it was. With 18 credits to go, I lost my financial aid. The government sent my parents a letter that said, sent me a letter that said, your parents make too much money, we're taking away your financial aid. And I sent the government a letter that said, my parents do make too much money, they keep it. And the government didn't buy that, and I moved back to New York, and through random twists of fate, I was hanging out one night in the in the Melrose Place TV gossip chat room on AOL. Yeah, and totally random. I don't know how I got there. I was supposed to be looking up stocks, and next thing I knew, I was in the Melrose Place forum, and then the 90210 forum, and then the Heights forum. It was horrible. So, long story short, someone who worked there said, "Hey, my company's trying to build a newsroom. Why don't you submit your resume?" And 2 weeks later, I was being moved down to Virginia to become one of the founding editors of AOL News. And it was totally random, and we spent 2.5 years doing absolutely everything, completely by no book. We had no idea how to do it. We just would go there every day and do something. If it worked, we'd do it again. If it didn't work, we wouldn't do it again. It was I call it the Better Off Dead years. The scene in Better Off Dead where John Cusack's at the top of the mountain, and his stoner friend says, dude, skiing's easy, don't worry, just go that way really fast. If something gets in your way, just turn. And it's totally what we're doing. So I started my career at AOL, left AOL, came back to New York, was consulting for a while, launched the first social media company for business travelers. I spent 400 plane flights in a row over the course of 2 years sitting next to the 400-pound guy, or the guy who hadn't bathed, or the 400-pound guy who hadn't bathed. And then one day I sat next to Miss Texas. And so I guess, it was her turn to have a shitty flight, I guess. And it occurred to me that we had control over everything we did in the airplane except who we sat next to. And so I built Air Introductions, which let you choose your seatmate before you could get on the plane. You could choose who you wanted to sit next to. I built it as a business networking site. Lisa Loeb then used it in her reality TV show to find a date. And the next day we were 5 times as big, and everyone was trying to get laid on an airplane. I sold that 6 months later to Ascendant, and then just through what I do every day, talking to people and self-promoting, HARO started. And that's where we are now. So why is self-promotion going to save the world? One of the interesting things I think that no one realizes, and I said this in the very beginning, so for the people who came in late, I'll sort of explain it again. Self-promotion, here's what self-promotion is. Self-promotion is me walking into a bar, okay, and going up to you and saying, hey, you don't know me, but I'm awesome. Okay, just finish your drink. Let's come home with me. Let's get out of here. You're gonna put your drink down, pick it up again, throw it in my face. That's bad self-promotion. If I've done other things in my life, helped people out, or offered advice, or I have some interesting tweets, or whatever it is, and I walk into that same bar and I'm just sitting there on my BlackBerry chilling out, and your best friend there sees me and goes to you and goes, "Oh my God, that's Peter Shankman. Have you ever heard of this guy? He's incredible. He speaks. He does all this great stuff. You should totally go talk to him. I'm going home with you." That's good self-promotion. Good self-promotion is nothing more than being helpful to other people. Self-promotion, for lack of a better word, is trust. Okay? Self-promotion, when done right, is trust. So the first thing I need you guys to do is forget what you think when you think self-promotion. When you think self-promotion, again, for those who came in late, I'll show you my description of bad self-promotion is like Lindsay Lohan is bad self-promotion. It's taking a topless photo of yourself and tweeting it out because you think that's the smart thing to do. For her brand, you know, it very well could be. For most of us, not necessarily the greatest thing, and it gets us that reputation of, oh, he's just such a self-promoter, we don't want to talk to him. Self-promotion, strangely enough, is not about talking about yourself. Self-promotion is quite the opposite. It's about listening. Self-promotion is about listening. It's about getting up in the morning, seeing what people who you follow on Twitter are talking about, and then chiming in with something relevant. Remember back when news groups started? Anyone old enough to remember news groups? Remember, like we'd be on the news groups, alt dot. Yeah, no, I was going to. The only alt dots I know don't have a good ending, so I wasn't going to admit those. But like rec.sports, there we go. And you'd be on them and you'd jump in and you learned really quickly because the first time you're like, hi, I'm so-and-so and this is what I do, and everyone shunned you. And you learned immediately that maybe it's better to listen for a while and introduce yourself as a follow-up to an interesting comment or point that you have. That's positive self-promotion. You didn't know it at the time. But offering advice, offering tidbits to your customers, to your clients. I talked about this in my earlier speech. We have thousands and thousands of customers every day that we don't know how to communicate with. Simply put, because we've never asked them. So your first art of self-promotion is to go home or go back to your office after the conference, talk to all of your, I'm sorry, I bored him. Talk to all of your audience, find out how they like to get their information. Ask them how they like to receive their web, email, blog, podcast, videocast, press release. There are still 3 people in the world that use press releases. If one of your audience is one of those 3, just sending out a press release. Ask your audience how they like to receive their information. Simply going after them and saying, hey, we're doing some homework, how do you like to get your info? And then give it to them that way. That's self-promotion. Because then people say, wow, he took the time to ask me how I like it. Wow, he cares. I'll listen to him. Your job when dealing with customers, clients, whoever, in terms of self-promotion, is very simply enough, it's not about you. It's about other people. Anyone wish your friends a happy birthday on Facebook every day? Yeah. That's self-promotion. You might not have talked to someone in 6 months. You wish them happy birthday. Hey, thinking about you, hope you have a wonderful day. It's not self-serving. Bad self-promotion is, hey, Mike, have a great birthday, and buy my book. You know, that's not necessarily a good thing. I'll give you a great example. I got an email last week from a woman I haven't talked to in about 2.5 years. Hey, just wanted to catch up with you. Let's set up a phone call. I'd love to find out what you're up to. I said, oh, okay, that sounds really nice. Sure, I'd love to communicate. She calls me today, and I was in the Blogger Lounge, and I took the call. I'm like, hey, nice to hear from you. How you been? She's like, good. Without even asking me what I'm up to, what I'm doing, she goes, yeah, so I started this new company, and we do like marketing consulting and stuff. And I remember that you used to run a PR firm, so I figured, you might have some clients and some leads that, we could use. And I'm sitting there going, I haven't talked to you in 2.5 years, and your first phone call to me, under the guise of, hey, let's catch up, is blatant self-promotion for yourself. Thanks. So if that's the case, how is that helpful? So what isn't self-promotion? Self-promotion is not about you, okay? It's about other people. It's about helping other people in any way you can, asking them what they like, figuring out how you can offer them information. The best parts of self-promotion are free. The best thing that anyone can do for me, Tony at Zappos is phenomenal at this. He'll follow up with just random customers. He'll just send them an email. I don't know if he does it anymore. Now he's worth like, $84 billion. But he used to he'd send random customers an email. Hey, he might have been the 800,000th customer of the day. But he just picked 5 at random. He goes, hey, this is Tony. I'm the head of Zappos. Just wanted to see how your order went. What are you working in? How'd it go? Was it good? You get everything you needed? Everything delivered on time? The shoes fit? And people would respond. They go, oh, thanks for the automated email. And Tony would respond from his BlackBerry. So no, it's not an automated email. I'm actually walking down the Las Vegas Strip right now. I just wanted to ask you how your order went. And it floored people. It floored them because they couldn't believe that the CEO of this company, where they ordered shoes from this, this faceless man, the CEO actually responded to him. The kid he was 24 at the time. And this is what he did. This is how he grew up. Customer service is self-promotion. And every time he did that, what happened? The people who got that email or that phone call from him went out and told all of their friends. They posted those emails on Facebook. They talked about how great, you've got to buy your shoes from this guy. I can't believe he emailed me out of the blue, the CEO. It built, you know what their motto is? Zappos' motto? Anyone Zappos' motto? Motto? No? Powered by customer service. Their whole thing is that they have every employee there has the power to reach out and talk to a customer. So my question to you is, are you talking to your customers? And not just talking to them when you're trying to sell them stuff. Are you talking to them on a regular basis? We used to, when I ran my PR firm, we had like 10 employees. Once a month, we'd pick a random client and we'd show up at their offices with pizza. And we'd just ask them what was going on. And we'd let them talk. And we became known as that agency that brings pizza. We probably got a good 25% of our clients, new clients, because they'd heard that this agency brings pizza randomly. And it wasn't so much the pizza, but it was the fact that people were waiting. We'd go there and we'd listen to what they had to say. We wouldn't bill them for it. It wasn't on the clock. We'd just sit there and we'd say, what are you working on? How can we help you? How can we sit there and learn more about your company so we can go back and figure out better ways to pitch you to the media? And they were just floored by it because no one does that. You know, no one does it. Who does that? When was the last time you actually you spent money just on a whim to go to a client, to visit them, to say hi, to email them, to call them, looking for nothing out of it? You know who does that a lot? Richard Branson. Richard Branson is famous for that, and I think that you'd say he's a very good self-promoter. A lot of what he does is blatantly self-promotion, standing on top of the Virgin store, you know, or taking out an ad when British Airways filed for bankruptcy, saying he took an ad in the London Times that said something like, you know, something like "sucks to be you," or it was "sucks to be a," actually what it was. Sucks to be British Airways. And so you definitely say self-promotional, but all the stuff that he does has a very, very fundamental link back to him as a person. So is your brand your company, or is your brand you? How many people think your brand is your company? There's no right or wrong answers here. It's really okay. Brand is your company, brand is you. Overwhelmingly, most of you said brand is you. Almost as overwhelmingly, most of you didn't answer. So, if the brand is you, everything you do needs to be about promoting yourself. Because you're promoting yourself to being, essentially your goal at the end of every day is to become that guy. Okay? That guy is the guy that people call and they say, oh yeah, you know what, call Peter, he knows that, he'll put you in touch with someone, he knows everyone. I didn't create business cards and said, my name is Peter, I know everyone. Over time of putting people together on HARO, I became that guy that knows everyone. So I'll call Peter, he knows that. How can you become that guy? Or that girl? Self-promotion, it's funny, it's not about you going out there and saying, I'm so great at this. It's about other people saying how great you are at that to let them do it for you. One of the things that I found really interesting, I think a great example, self-promotion, if you look into, how many of you are on Twitter and post more than 5 or 6 tweets a day? Okay. Between 1 and 5, the rest of you? Anyone not on Twitter? I'm just curious if anyone's not on Twitter. Really? Can I ask why? No right or wrong, I'm just curious. Okay, time sink. That's a good idea. That's like the number one reason most people think. You know that the average, what's the stat I read? Something like 90% of all tweets on Twitter are posted by something like 3% of the people on Twitter. Which makes you think, what the hell are we all talking about? If there are billions and billions of tweets every day, how much of that is noise and how much of that is signal? Your goal is to make every tweet signal. Your goal is when you're twittering about something, when you're twittering for whatever it is, to get some sort of reaction. Twittering for the sake of twittering is a time sink. The art of Twitter lies in the retweet. The art of Twitter does not lie in you tweeting about something. The art of Twitter lies in tweeting in such a way that other people retweet it. How do you do that? Be helpful. Offer tweets that are informational in purpose, but also in context. What does that mean? The stuff that you're posting on Twitter should have some sort of subtle underlying tone. What is it going to do? Is it going to make people smile? Is it going to make people laugh? Is it going to provide interesting info? You know, one of the best Twitterers out there is Mashable. Pete Cashmore, or whoever's tweeting on Pete Cashmore's account, is one of the most followed people on Twitter, and he has never said anything of himself, ever. Every tweet that Pete tweets about is what's currently trending on Mashable. But it's valuable information. And so everyone follows Pete Cashmore at Mashable for no other reason than he puts out valuable information. Are your followers following you because you're putting out valuable information or because you're a time suck? Ask yourself, is what you're before you send any tweet, for the next tweet you send, ask yourself, is this relevant to more people than just me? And I know this sounds incredibly basic. I'm hearing myself say it, and it sounds incredibly basic, yet we don't do it. There was a GQ had a really interesting article, very funny article this morning online about the 18 types of friends in Facebook that we avoid, or the 18 types of friends that we hide in our feeds. And one of them was the must share everything person. And their tweets are, breakfast, oatmeal. And then there's the everything is really sad. Trying to start again after the day I had yesterday, please send vibes. These are the people that you wind up ignoring and eventually fade out of your life. If you look at social media as nothing more than regular life and sort of a regular flow of what we're doing on a daily basis, just like life, if someone's coming to you and they're constantly telling you how great they are, eventually you're just going to stop answering the door. You're going to see their cell phone, you're just going to sort of let it go to voicemail. Same thing on Twitter, same thing on Facebook, same thing in customer service. If everything you're telling your audience is all about how great you are, they're not going to believe it, and B, they're just going to stop following. So the question is, what information can you give them that benefits them and lets them come back and say, oh yeah, I got that from this guy. You should follow him. He's interesting. There's a company on which I sit on the board, and I'm not going to share the name, but the CEO does not use Twitter well. And I analyzed this for him, and I sent him an Excel spreadsheet with his past 20 days of tweets. 94% of them started with the word I. Okay, that is the worst possible word in the world if you're trying to gain your audience. Do not use the word I. I'm broadcasting now. I'm live streaming now. I'm going into meetings. No one cares. If you can go and analyze your tweets, ask yourself how many of them start with the word I. How many of them are retweets? How many of them are you offering different people different information from other trusted sources? The best way for people to think of you as a trusted source, and the best way to be self-promotional, is to let other people do it for you. So if you're posting information, how many people are retweeting you based on those posts? Make a graph. Actually go home and make a graph. Sit down and say, okay, I sent out 100 tweets last week or last month. How many of those what percentage of those are retweeted? You want to try for 50% or higher. If you can get 50% or higher of your Twitter posts, or it doesn't have to be Twitter, your Facebook posts, your blog posts, if you can get a 50% or more ratio of other people retweeting or reposting or linking to that information, that means your self-promotion is working. If it's less than 50%, ask yourself how you can change that. The biggest mistake people make is starting tweets or Facebook posts or even blog posts with the word I. There's a blogger I know who's a phenomenal writer, and he writes a lot about business, and he was tailoring all his blog posts towards things that he did in business. When I was doing this at this company, as opposed to case studies or things that other people were doing. And while he had good advice, no one wanted to read him because it just was all about him. So ask yourself, what ratio are your tweets, are your Facebook posts, or all that stuff about you or your company versus other people or other companies or other bits of information? The most valuable thing that people have told me they've gotten out of my other speech that I did at Affiliate Summit East was two parts. It was one about how HARO was built, and the other part was about the Will It Blend case study. The Will It Blend case study is one of the best case studies in the world. It's how George Wright, the marketing VP over at Will It Blend, using nothing more than a flip cam and a blender, increased revenues by 679% by starting a campaign where he would blend things that were never meant to be blended, like an iPhone and things of that nature. And then after he'd blended the first one, he put out a call to his audiences of what do you want to see blended? And every week he'd tally the most votes and he would blend whatever they asked. He's supposed to be blending a droid, but he's kind of scared because it's aluminum casing. He doesn't think it'll actually blend. So that would be the first time something didn't blend. So he created 679% increase in revenue of a $500 blender. These aren't cheap. Simply by listening to his audience, letting his audience drive where his blog went. Are you letting your audience drive where your blog goes? Are you letting your audience drive what posts you're posting on the walls, on your Facebook fan page and all this? Are you letting your audience drive it? If you think for a second that you're in control of the destiny of your company or your personal brand, you're wrong. No one is in control of the destiny of your company other than your customers. Your customers control where your company is going. And no matter how much you promote it or how much you say it's this thing, if your customers want something else, that's where your company's going to go if you want to stay alive. Anyone remember what Amazon's first slogan was ever? World's largest bookstore. Amazon used to sell these things called books. They had pages, and you'd open them up, and they smelled really nice. The last thing I bought off of Amazon, I think, was a toaster. People decided they wanted Amazon to sell other things. They wanted a one-stop shop. Amazon listened. Amazon used to be a bookstore. And now they promote themselves as the world's biggest marketplace. Okay, so when you want something, you could just go to Amazon. So my question is, are you listening to what your audience says, and are you promoting the way they want you to? The best thing you could possibly do, and you know what, let me show you the new HARO, just for kicks. Exit full screen, F11. You can, I don't remember what it is. It's beta something.haro.com. I'll find it in a few. But one of the nicest things about the new HARO is that everything that's launching tomorrow, the vertical lists and everything that we've done, every single one of those things has come from member requests. People in HARO have asked for the vertical list. They've asked for an easier way to create sponsorship ads. They've asked for this. They've asked for that. Reporters have asked for blind email addresses. Everything that's been there comes from them. And what we've been doing is we've been emailing the people that were most vocal with our suggestions. They say, hey, want to give you a preview of what's launching tomorrow. Just want to let you know, you did this. And it's not as cheesy as the Windows 7 commercials. We actually went to them and we said, hey, you suggested that we go to vertical lists, and these are the lists you suggested. Just want to let you know, tomorrow, these are the lists we're launching. So I want to thank you for that. And people are, I can't believe you took the time to listen to my suggestion and implement it. Of course we were going to do it anyway. Of course we were. We had always planned to implement vertical lists. But if they're going to take the time to email us, okay, out of their day to email a free service and say, hey, why don't you do this? We'd be fools not to email them back and say thank you. But how many of us do it? How many of us take the time when a customer sends in a complaint or a query or a compliment or something like that, how many of us actually take the time to send it back? One of the biggest things that my chief marketing or chief operating officer wants me to do is hand off my email to someone else, and I won't do it. I can't let someone else answer my email, and I don't recommend that anyone else here do, because what happens is it's no longer about you, and it's no longer personalized, and your self-promotion is being done by a paid servant, by an assistant, by a secretary, by John, customer service number 34719. That doesn't create an emotional tie with your company or with your brand. Customer service or self-promotion is about creating an emotional tie one-to-one with your audience. If someone emails you and you take the time to email them back out of your busy schedule, wherever in the world you may be, you are saying, hey, I want to tie this into what you do. And they come back to you and they say, I can't believe he took the time to email me back. That's really awesome. They go and tell 5 people. Your biggest self-promotional materials are other people. The biggest self-promoters in the world for your brand are other people. If you can get other people on board, that is viral, that is social. And look, let's be clear. I hope that 2010 and 2011 are the years that we stop using the term social media. It's not social media. Okay, it's life. That was it's always the gist of my other speeches. It's simply life. We're sitting there and we are going on Facebook, we're posting what we do, we're posting on Foursquare. He created a room name for this room on Foursquare, okay, 3 minutes before this panel started, okay, and he's now probably the mayor of this room, okay? It's about life, and the more we move into the social media space and the more time goes by, the more it's not going to be about social media. The same way you don't go to the Google search engine to look up information, you go Google it. Okay, if someone came to you with a resume now and the first thing on the resume said, very familiar with how to use the Google search engine, you'd sort of, that's special. Wow, I don't have any positions for you, but that's really sweet. 10 years ago, though, that was totally acceptable. It's the same thing today with social media. People say, I'm very familiar with Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and in another 2 years, it's not going to matter. So you need to be implementing these tools into your life. And look, I'm not saying implement a specific tool. I don't know which one's going to win. I personally don't think it's going to be Twitter. And I don't know who's going to win the social networking wars. It's Facebook or LinkedIn or Google or Twitter. It's going to be Google. But regardless, what's going to happen is that everything we do is going to fall into this category of simply life. You'll wake up in the morning, your Foursquare application will notice that you're leaving the house, and will say, hey, he's taking the same route to the office he always does. His next stop's going to be the office. And so instead of checking in at the office, the system on Foursquare will say, Peter's ETA to the office is 4 minutes. Okay? And if you stop at the Starbucks, it'll add 10 minutes onto your wait. And it'll say, but hey, you're at the Starbucks. Jennifer, who sits next to you, just saw that you're at the Starbucks. She wants you to get her a latte. So imagine when this stuff starts becoming as ubiquitous as real life. Then it's really going to become about social and about self-promotion. Because everything we do will be interconnected to everyone else. And the only way we'll know people who we haven't met yet is through the recommendations of others. Think about that from a business perspective. You go to a Jiffy Lube, and you get your car Jiffy lubed, I guess, and lubed, right? And it just sounds wrong. Say that in Vegas. And you're leaving Jiffy Lube, and you check in on Foursquare that you were there, and you give it a thumbs up. Maybe there's a thumbs up rating, or you use your Pokin, right? And you give it a thumbs up rating as you leave. And 10 minutes later, your car suddenly stalls because they forgot to put the oil pan back, and you have no more oil, and you've just killed your $40,000 car. You are then, that thumbs up is going to go way, way down. And so you're going to pull out your iPhone as you're waiting for the tow truck, and you're going to thumbs down the hell out of Jiffy Lube. Okay? 2 weeks later, when I go to get my oil change, I have an Infiniti, and I actually have I got the add-on to my car. My car actually talks to Facebook. It is the stupidest thing I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I paid like $400 extra to get the accessory that lets my car post on my wall. And so it'll tell me that it needs an oil change, or it just hit 9,000 miles or something. It's the stupidest thing I've ever conceived of getting, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit it. But imagine when that's standard too, and your car says I have to get my oil changed, and what pops up is your recommendation to not go to that Jiffy Lube. Okay? Jiffy Lube then has a job of fixing what they did. And then that's all about self-promotion. Because if you know me and you're telling me not to go to that Jiffy Lube, I'm going to trust you a hell of a lot more than the Jiffy Lube I've never been to. So the question then becomes, is self-promotion nothing more than good customer service to begin with? And the answer is yes. If you can work with your company in such a way that everything you do is customer service focused, like Zappos has been doing, then you're building everything you do, if it's customer service focused, is self-promotional. Does that make any sense? Because that's actually the crux of this whole argument here. If you're producing good customer service, whether it's from a personal perspective or a business perspective, for your brand, if you're focused on producing good customer service, everything you do is self-promotional and not in a bad way. Because if you can create Raving Fans, read the book if you haven't. It's called Raving Fans. It's one of the best books out there. It's 100 pages. You can read it at one of these ridiculous stoplights on the strip. It is the gist of it says that we expect to be treated like crap as an audience, as a client, as a customer. We expect to be treated like crap. We expect to go to McDonald's and they're going to screw up our order. We expect to go to the dry cleaner, and because they said our stuff will be ready on Tuesday and we know it won't be ready till Thursday. It's just, we expect in this service economy. If you could treat your customers one level above crap, and it doesn't even have to be good, just one level above crap, they will become customers for life. If you treat them well, they will go out of their way to become Raving Fans. They will become the Muppets, the cartoon Muppets, when they would scream and run down the street and do this. And they would run down the street and do that for you because you went out of your way to do something nice. Maybe you repaired a button on their jacket that was coming off at no charge. Hey, just wanted to be a nice guy. So ask yourself, if you're self-promoting and it's all about customer service, then you don't really have to do it. Because everything you do is ingrained into doing it. One or two more key points. The biggest advice I think I can give you about self-promotion is the fact that it's subtle. Self-promotion should not be recognized for what it is. If self-promotion is recognized for what it is, you become Lindsay Lohan or Paris Hilton or someone like that. It's like, oh, they're just a self-promoter. But if the subtlety of HARO is a perfectly good example. Every single HARO has a rant under the ad. The ad, and then like a 3-line rant, and then the queries. That rant is as self-promotional as it gets. Every morning, afternoon, and evening, I get 3 chances a day to say whatever the hell I want to 125,000 people with about a 75-80% open rate. So when I want something, it's a question of wording it in such a way that it doesn't look like I'm asking for it. When Up in the Air came out, the movie, I said, oh my God, this is a movie about me. I can't wait. I got to see this film as soon as it opens. I travel 300,000 miles a year. Within 2 hours, I had a call from Paramount Pictures saying, hey, we'd like to invite you to the premiere in LA. Really? Wow, that's so nice of you. The question is, what's the benefit for Paramount to do that? The very next day, I get to mention the HARO, hey, thanks Paramount Pictures for taking me to the premiere of Up in the Air. How can you work with your audience in such a way that you're asking for things and they're giving them to you and you're thanking them in public? The best self-promoters in the world get people to do things for them and make them think it was their idea. Okay? That is the best thing in the world. If you can make someone do something for you and think that it was their idea, you will win every single time. Examples of that, again, I hate to keep giving Tony Say a swelled head, but people are notorious about telling other people that they got their shoes at Zappos because they have a cult following. Anyone else think of any cult followings out there? Apple. Okay? There's a great cartoon, a great picture that showed an entire college classroom with every single kid, about 50 kids, and they all had Macs. Okay? And the caption was, think differently, just like everyone else. Apple has done a phenomenal job, and they've been doing this since '84, of making people into brand loyalists. And go on search on any forum that's not computer related, but like a sports enthusiast forum, and they have a general category where you could post about anything. Anytime someone says, hey, I have a problem with this Windows machine, you know what? The first or second response will always be, buy a Mac. Get a Mac. To the point where it's gotten where people say, hey, I'm having this problem, please don't tell me to buy a Mac. They have done such a good job of self-promoting that they have turned every single one of that. You don't buy a Mac, you buy a lifestyle. And that's the stupidest friggin' line I could possibly say. Okay, because I think that Porsche tried to make that line back in the 60s. They tried to say, no, you're not buying a Porsche, you're entering a lifestyle. No, you're not, it's a fucking computer. Okay, it's a car, for Christ's sake. But they created such an audience that was so driven, no pun intended, to talk about what they had. Look at my Porsche. You know, it's not, you very rarely hear people go, look at my Accord. Okay, look at this hot Accord I just got, you know? But the Macintosh, I've seen tweets where people get their new Mac and they actually, the unboxing takes 15 tweets. Because every photo, this is what it looks like half open. Now the cover's all the way off. Now I'm lifting up the wrapping. And no one complains about this. No one, oh my God, you lift up the wrapping and it's still white. The hell? But they have created this cult. What can you do to help your audience become cult-like around you? And that's really the big question, the big crux of what self-promotion is. Everything that HARO's done has been designed to do it for the audience that's reading the HAROs. From the way the font is like, don't think for a second that anything in the HARO is generic or just happened to fall that way. Everything was, in the beginning, yeah, but over time, everything we do is planned. Everything we do is planned, and everything we do is based on what the audience wants and how they need it. And in turn, the only goal of HARO, in terms of dealing with their audience, is to get members to tell other people who are not members to join HARO. And it's the beauty of that is that when someone uses HARO and gets quoted somewhere, they post that on their Facebook page. And all their friends say, wow, you got in the New York Times, how'd you do that? Oh, I belong to this thing called HARO. I should join that. And the cycle starts again. What can you create what the end product for your customer or your users is something people want to show off? And don't think for a second, oh, I'm in affiliate marketing, how the hell does that happen? Everything you do is an interaction with an audience. From one audience to 1 million people, there is a core interaction every single time. Your opportunity is to get these people to self-promote for you every single time you do it. And the best way, some of the easiest ways to do that are one-liners. I start probably 3 or 4 times a week. My first tweet of the morning will be some inspirational bullshit quote that I get from wherever. And if anyone follows me on Twitter, you've seen some of these quotes. They're anything from, those who, life is a book, and those who don't travel only read 1 page. And it's, at 6 in the morning, it just sounds like probably a lot deeper than it actually is. But you tweet that out, and all of a sudden, 50 people, right on! I'm like, last night, I'll give you a great example. Last night I was at the Bellagio. Wow, I hate PCs. I get them. It's not mine, believe me. I wish. Okay, so I was at the Bellagio last night watching the fountains, and a guy taps me on the shoulder and hands me his camera, and he says, "Dude, will you take a picture of me and my girlfriend?" I said, "Sure, pal." And I take his camera out, and I start to take a picture of him and his girlfriend. As I'm taking the photo, as I'm like lining up the camera in the photo, he gets down on one knee and proposes to his girlfriend. Like right in the middle. So what do? I put his shitty camera in my pocket and I take my good Canon. And I start shooting with mine. You move the thing from the thing? She knew what I meant though. And here's the result. Women really stop doing that, because that just doesn't help anything. Seriously. Really. Well, eventually. Actually, the funniest line here was the comment from Jeff Chatner, who said, "I'd freak out too if my fiance's head was dissolving like that." But so anyway, so I shot these, and that's the money shot right there. Okay, so I shot these, and I gave the guy back his camera, which had like one picture, right? And I gave him my business card. I said, "Dude, I took some great shots. I'd love to send them to you." And that night, this morning, I immediately posted them on Facebook, and the results from posting on Facebook and Twitter are tons and tons of comments on the main page. 22 comments and 43 people like this. And it was, "I'm getting teary just looking at the pics. It's still nice to know there's some romance in the world. I almost cried. Thanks for clarifying." Well, that's someone who thought I was getting married, I guess. "That's awesome. Very cool. You're always bringing people together, Peter. It's your purpose in life." I don't know about that, but here I have 22 people who have forwarded this thing out to other friends and say, "Oh my God, you got to see this. This is so sweet. This is wonderful." And I watched my fan numbers. I've garnered 18 new fans in the past 3 hours. I've done nothing else on Facebook today. That was the only thing I did on Facebook. And I posted the photos because I thought they might make some people smile. And the underlying gist was that if it made a few people smile, they were going to send it to friends. And as soon as they sent it to friends, people were going to come back to this page. Does it work? It's not scientific. I have a great marketing guy who helps me out on HARO, and I can't do anything that doesn't have a basis in numbers to him. He said, "Well, how many people really signed up, and how do you know it was?" I don't. But it felt like it was. So my question is, what can you do every day that somehow brings more people in? The best CEOs in the world are the ones who blog about interesting stuff in their life that has nothing to do with their business. So they're not sitting there blogging about their corporate numbers. They're sitting there blogging about the run they had that morning. They're sitting there blogging about the guy in the supermarket behind them. They're sitting about blogging about interesting things that people can relate to on a regular basis. What are you doing to reach that audience? You have your core audience already. Your core audience knows about your work. What are you doing to reach the other people that don't have it? I get it, 15 minutes, we're good. So what doesn't do that? How can you reach an audience that doesn't know who you are and doesn't care necessarily about your raw data or your raw numbers? Something like this has nothing to do with my life at all. But it was very cool that it happened to happen, and I took pictures about it. And people tweeted it, they posted it, and they blogged about it. And I just got an email right before I came on stage from this guy saying, "Hey, I was the guy that got engaged last night. I think you took some photos because you gave me your business card. I was a little out of it." Like, can imagine. I hope to God he wasn't drunk. He's like, "Can you send me the photos?" And I sent him the Facebook page. So I don't know if he's joined yet, but we'll see. And I said, "I'm happy to send you the high-res photos." It cost me nothing. It took 3 minutes out of my life to do it. It generated a bunch of new fans, and it generated this guy who I guarantee you is going to send every one of his friends. I guarantee you, as soon as he gets the email, I will see another 50 to 100 person jump in my fan page. Because they're going to go to him, all his pictures. Maybe he'll even tag them. And how cool of a story would that be, that this random guy finds me on Facebook and tags me because I took his photos last night in front of the Bellagio randomly? Those are the kind of things you want to know. That could then lead to a blog post about what happens when you do nice things for people. That blog post can be said, it's a revolving cycle. And it's not something that ends. Don't think of, and I'll make this one of my final points. Don't think of self-promotion as something that you do on a regular basis at one time, or at a conference or a networking event. There are certain types of people at networking events. Well, first of all, people that go to networking events in themselves, life should be a networking event. Okay, that is probably the best information, the best line I can give you. Life should be a networking event. Okay, going to a networking event with a bunch of business cards, okay, walking in, being a business card ninja. You ever been a business card ninja or been attacked by a business card ninja? That's when you go in, so it's like, you get stabbed with like 14 business cards in the chest, you don't know who they are. I throw out 99% of the business cards I get because they're given to me by people who don't necessarily care anything about me. They were just given because they're at a networking event. Okay, and they have to give you. The people that you meet, and they're like, hi, what do? You have a card? No. You want to mess with people? Next time someone says, do you have a card? Go, no. No, I don't use them. Really? Yeah, people can just find me. Really? It's funny as hell. Yeah, use a poking, right? But that's really the question: is how are you going to stand out out of an audience of what every time Missy and Sean throw this conference, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. To the point where I had a tweet out today, ASW 10 is getting much, much bigger, and it's just full of tons and tons of people, and they're all in my way, move. Because that hallway was like a nightmare. So how do you stand out in front of thousands of these people? How do you make sure you're any different? And the question is, everything you do should be a networking event. From the second you get on the plane, the time you land. There was a cab line at my hotel this morning, 5 people deep, and I saw someone with a thing. And I said, hey, you going to Philly Summit? He goes, yeah. I'm like, come on, split the cab. Went right to the front of the line, was here in 5 minutes, in the pouring rain. Why wouldn't you do that? Instead of just sitting in the back and waiting your own turn, why wouldn't you do that? That's helpful. Okay, you just cut your cost of the cab in half for both people. You both save time. Hell, say that you helped save the environment, if that's what it matters. But the fact of the matter is that you did something that'll be remembered. Simple move. So I'll sum it up with a quick story. This is one of my favorite stories. I've lately become an addict of Mad Men. I have an incredible talent of getting into shit about 3 years after it becomes popular. And so I recently downloaded seasons 1 and seasons 2, and I realized that I have this mad crush on Don Draper because he exudes this debonair elegance that I think everyone tries for, but no one ever really gets. And I'll tell you a story. And this is for the best piece of self-promotion I can give you in terms of why it matters and why this hour, for those of you who have stuck with me for this past hour, if you're going to take away anything, take this away. This is also the first time I've ever given this specific speech, so I have no idea if it's working or not. I used to represent Tony Bennett. He used to be a PR client. He had a nonprofit that helped with music education in the schools, and I used to do his PR pro bono. My parents wanted to meet him, and so I scheduled a dinner with me, my mom, my dad, Tony Bennett, and Tony Bennett's 26-year-old girlfriend. And we all meet at Nobu at 8 o'clock, and I get there first, and I go in, and I'm like, hi, reservation? Do you have a reservation? Yes, it's probably under Bennett. Sorry, nothing under that name. It's under Shankman? No, nothing under that name. I'm like, oh, shit, someone screwed up. Tony comes in with his girlfriend and my parents, and we're all there, and Tony was like, hi, I'd like a table. Mr. Bennett, of course, right? We get like the best table in the restaurant. But, so we have this phenomenal meal. It's a great meal, phenomenal food. You know, you ever seen The Simpsons eat? That was kind of like me and my dad, just like constantly inhaling the sushi. At some point during the meal, my mom got up to go to the bathroom. Tony Bennett pulled back his chair and stood up as a gentleman. She came back from the bathroom. He stood up again. Dad and I were clueless. We were shoveling in sushi rolls like there's no tomorrow. And we get to the end of the dinner, and we say goodbye, and Tony and his 26-year-old girlfriend get into the limo, and Mom and Dad and me get into the other limo called the Subway, and we start talking, and I said, my dad said, God, what an amazing meal. I said, yeah, and I said, you know, what I took away was like, Tony Bennett has a 26-year-old girlfriend, and you know, and the food was great, and my dad's like, yeah, the food was great, and my mom's only comment about the entire 3-hour dinner, you know, Tony Bennett stood up for me when I went to the bathroom. And she said it in a perfect mom way that pretty much ended the conversation. There was nothing that me or my dad could have said for the entire rest of the evening that would have countered that. So we're all three of us sitting on the subway, and my mom's just sitting there, and my dad's like, yeah, I guess he did. Oh, look, 14th Street. You know, and it was like, it was over. That was in 2002. Since that day, I have never not stood up when I am at a dinner party or at a table or at a restaurant and a woman stands up. I've gotten more dates. I've gotten more second dates. I've gotten more girls who come with one guy and leave with me from standing up. It is the differentiating factor. It is the stupidest little thing in the world. It's the differentiating factor. Okay? What can you do each day in your business, in your personal world, in your life that makes you the differentiating factor between the millions and millions of people that we're asked to look at on a daily basis? At the end of the day, I always come back to the Tony Bennett story. And I'll never forget the smug sort of, I can't believe I'm married to you and I produced you and neither of you stood up for me. You know, that just, ugh. And since that day, I've never not done it. And it's gotten me clients. It's gotten me dates. It's phenomenal. Try it. So with that, I guess, if you could take away the fact that the differentiating factor is really what self-promotion is. And if you do it the right way, it doesn't seem like self-promotion. And if you do it the right way, it doesn't seem like self-promotion, and people will actually want you to do more of it. So with that, I thank you for letting me test this out on you guys. Like I said, it was the first time I've talked about this subject, but it is something that I'm growing more and more passionate with by the day, and I do appreciate taking the time. I know we have about 5 minutes left for questions, which I'm happy to take. Yeah?
Can you show us the new HARO?
Yes. What's the site? 8 beta 830. Okay. That's Adam, by the way. He helps me with marketing. he's the numbers guy I told you about. HTTP beta 8. I hate this computer. 830.helpareporter.com. So for all of you who know, actually, what I'll show you the old HARO first. For those who have never seen it, the old HARO really, for lack of a better word, was just brochureware. It was a page that just let you sign up for the email. And from this, you would get the email, and it would tell you what we do. And the new HARO is going to do a lot more. The new HARO will let you create an account so you can actually track all your pitches to journalists online. You can see what you're sending. You can see what you're sending. You can see. Just wait, I'm going to stand up for you later tonight. You can see what pitch you're sending out. You can see, reporters can actually tell you, I doubt they'll do this because reporters never have the time, but they can actually tell you if they liked your pitch, what you could improve on. The best part for journalists is that all the emails are going to be anonymized. So what that means is you can finally post queries. You can post them on Facebook, you can post them on Twitter, you can post them on your blog, because the reporter's email address will never be shown anymore. It'll now all be haro824@haro.net or whatever. And even cooler, the second their query is over. The biggest problem we had with HARO was that there was a handful of idiots who used the site, and we tried to kill them as much as possible, who would harvest email addresses and then add reporters to mailing lists and things like that, and it drove reporters crazy, and that was the only thing that kept some reporters from coming back. The new HARO, every email address will be masked, and if a reporter enters a deadline of 12 p.m. Tuesday for their deadline, for their query to be over, at 12 o'clock and 2 seconds on Tuesday, that email address will die. So you can no longer harvest. So we're really, really excited about some of the stuff we're doing. In terms of the lists that we're doing, I'll show you what we have, and then really fast, because I don't want to make this all about HARO, but I will show you the sources. So here are you sign up, and let me log in as me. You actually sign up, and you can choose what lists you want to go to. So if you just want lifestyle or entertainment or kill me. Here it is. Okay. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. Yeah. Is that what I did? I clicked login? Yeah. I'm special. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty like that. Fortunately, I have, I stand up when women go to the bathroom. So. Let me try this one more time. Oh, kill me. Sorry, guys. Get him back. Okay. There we go. I think that worked. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So you can look at queries. And if you go as to sources, you can actually see what lists there are. And so it's business, lifestyle. Where's the lists, Adam? Is it under pitches? It might be. No, it's not under pitches, but my account? Okay. Yeah, here you go. So you can actually see, here you go. So right now we're gonna launch with business, finance, lifestyle, fitness, gift bag, high tech, and general. Over the next couple of weeks, we will have biotech and healthcare, entertainment and media, education, energy and green tech, sports, and then public policy and government. So anything you want to subscribe to, you can actually split the list down into really sort of micro lists. So that's going to be exciting. But yeah, I'll have to talk more about that later. I don't want to bore you guys with HARO if you don't care. Any other self-promotion type questions? Yeah?
When do you expect this to roll out?
So staying on boring you guys with HARO, we're actually launching the new site tomorrow, and we're expecting the new lists to come probably the next month. So we'll start off with high-tech, general, gift bag, lifestyle, and business, and then the rest of them will come probably within hopefully a month to 2 months. It really is just a question of adding new lists. And we can add as many as we want, whenever we want. Any other HARO questions? And by HARO, I mean questions about social, yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just came here to thank you because of HARO, it's what really made my site. I responded to a reporter's request, and I got featured on the front page of MSN. And my readers went from like 1,000 to 10,000.
Dude.
Yeah, and then the reason I came to the Affiliate Summit, and while I was too lazy to go there, is that we responded to something on HARO, and we got picked.
Wow.
So thank you.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. That's very, very cool. And she is not a plant. I swear to God, I don't know who that woman is. Yeah, what else?
One of the coolest, I saw your keynote in New York.
Mm-hmm.
One of the coolest self-promotion is your business card.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on the computer and I'm home just doing looking like words.
Well, that's the thing. You can't really file it, can you? My business card, and I'm always hesitant to show it here because it's Vegas, and people think, oh, you made it for Vegas, but I really didn't. My business card is a poker chip, and I've had it now for about 4 years. Here they are. And they're essentially just actual clay poker chips, and they have the same sound that real poker chips have. And I just had them made because I thought they were cool, but what turns out to happen is you wind up keeping them on your desk because you can't file them. They break card scan. So I've heard from more than one person that they actually break card scan. So the beauty of it there is it just sits on your desk. And it sits there, and you look at it every day, and people go, oh, what's that? Business card. Oh, cool business card. And people remember it. This card has been written up in, I think, Time Magazine and a whole bunch of things. I just thought it was something different. Again, it was differentiating yourself out of the masses. And that was one of the things I did, and it seemed to work. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. What else? Okay. Thank you very much. Go catch the tail end of the Facebook conference. I never know how the first one is always going to go. I'm always afraid I blew it, having never given the speech before.